All right, guys. So the next map we're going to go over is going to be customs. Customs is not too bad to get this task on. You get a lot of opportunities just because it's the smallest of the maps that are in Shooter Born in Heaven. So you get a lot of opportunities. It's a very hungry map. What I mean by that is players just everywhere. A lot of times getting into fights with each other. They're less avoidant on customs. So again, you get a lot of opportunities to get these headshots. It's just finding the spots can be a little tricky sometimes, just because it's kind of hard to find a spot where there isn't people. A lot of times you get, like, especially where we spawned right here at the train, there's going to be a lot of people that spawn at Red Warehouse. So with that being said, though, that is why the first spot I'm going to show you here, and what happens to also be my favorite spot on this map, is such a good spot. And that's because there's a lot of people that can spawn on this warehouse side, the Red Warehouse side, and there's only 3 ways or 4 ways for them to get across to the main area, and that's through the land bridges. You've got the main bridge, and you've got the left land bridge that leads up to the scav checkpoint area there. So we're going to go to the first spot here. I like this one a lot. It's the one that I found that you're really most out of the way from the gunfights, but you get a lot of good vantage points from it. So let's go ahead and go to that spot. All right, so if you spawn in on train like I did just here, you're going to go all the way to the other end, so towards the real bridge, and it's going to be by this little shack in the corner here. So this little one right here. There's going to be a bush right in front of this. Something to keep in mind, a lot of people like to get up on this shack on the top there. You can jump up there and lay down. I don't recommend going up there. You stand out quite a bit, and I myself tried that a couple times, and I got sniped both times I was up there. So something to look for when you're doing this task is it's a spot that you can definitely look up at and see if there's people there if you happen to be across the river here. But my spot happens to actually be right in front of it in this bush here. So we can go over to the bush. All right, for reference, the bush I like is going to be right in front of the tower here. So this is the little shack, not tower, that we were just looking at that people like to sit up on top of. There's this green cargo crate right here. It's the bush that's right in front of that. So right in here, you can lay down. You'll see here there's like a nice little gap, and you get a really nice vantage of the scav checkpoint area over there. You get a really nice vantage of the scav checkpoint area over there. Sorry, when I was recording this video, I had troubles getting into the spot. You get the land bridge off to your right. That's a very, very popular area when people first spawn in, like where we were. A lot of people like to cut across that bridge. So you can catch them when they get to this pipe here, because usually that's when they start to run out of stamina. So if they're sprinting all the way down the hill, they're coming across land bridge, they usually either stop at this red container here, or they go up to this pipe area here and they just sit for a minute until they get their stamina back up to run up the hill. So that gives you a great opportunity. If you see guys sprinting across this, just keep an eye on them, wait for them to slow down or stop, and then you get a few opportunities to take shots there at them. And then if they get up on top here, you get this whole area that you can look at by the tank and the checkpoint off to the right. You can also see off to the left here. This is also a popular spot. This is one that you'll see usually later in the rounds. So this area to the left, if you find yourself here for, the first 10 minutes of the raid, 15 minutes of the raid, pay attention to this hole right here. A lot of people will start coming from warehouse and they'll come through here just because they have to come up here to extract. So if they come through, you can see people as it gets later that come through here and get in these bushes. Sometimes they go all the way over to sniper point to check the extract that's over there. So just keep an eye out for that as it gets later in the raid. Again, this is where I got 2 of my Shooter Born in Heaven shots. So it's definitely a good spot to be. You are relatively out of the way. I like that a lot because in this map, like I said, it's hard to find spots that are good, that give you good vantage points, but that are also not in the center of attention, I guess. So this is one of those. All right, so if you spawned where we spawned, this next spot is not a bad idea early in the round, okay? And I mean early. What you're going to have to do is as soon as you get into the raid, You're going to want to sprint across that land bridge. You're going to want to come up here. This spot, shout out to Pastilli. He's the one that actually pointed this out first. At least that's where I saw it. Again, not a bad spot early. As it starts getting later, you're going to run into some trouble because this becomes a high traffic area and you're pretty easy to spot up here. So you're just going to lay down. You're going to look over at the other side. You get the whole train side to look at in the red warehouse area that you can spot people at. So this is again a really good spot. You got to keep in mind, like I said, people like to get on top of this shack. So that's potentially a kill for you to get right there. If they hop up on that shack, easy shooter born in heaven kill. The bridge, the right side. You get all that at your disposal in this position. But like I said, biggest thing is keeping time in the back of your mind here. As it gets later on, I highly recommend rotating out and finding a new spot because people will start coming in behind you. And you don't want that because, like I said, you're relatively easy to spot up there. All right, so this next spot I got here is going to be the top of these. It's like a 2 stacked storage containers. The top you can get into here. This one's not bad. I don't run this. I check it sometimes if I hear people over at the warehouse. It's not one of my main go-tos, but I definitely think it's worth pointing out because if you do find a lot of action going on at the warehouse over there, all you have to do is run up the side, and you can lay down on this one. And as you can see here, you can see the whole front of the warehouse. You get the left area. Definitely opportunities there if there's a lot of action going on or Rashala's gangs at the warehouse. So again, not my super favorite, but also not a bad area to go to. All right, so the next one is pretty well known. If you come to this spot, you got to be prepared to fight because there's a good chance that people will run up to you. But it's this warehouse that's pretty empty here. It's very, very open, which is why it's good, but also why it's bad. So, you got to keep in mind, you get a lot of vantage points from here, but you got to keep in mind that everyone can see you from a lot of different angles. So the biggest, highest traffic area in this spot, and I got my last shooter born in heaven kill here, is these trees here going up to the pipe, the train tracks right here. A lot of people sit up there when they're trying to kill Rashala at the gas station or they get into fights here. So this is definitely an area to keep an eye on when you're up in this warehouse. It is just barely 100 meters to that train track area there. So keep that in mind when you're doing the shot. It might be best to sit back a little bit in the warehouse because if you get too close to the edge, I think when I got my kill here, it was literally 105 meters, and he was sitting right on top right here. If you get down into the left corner here, that's a little bit further out, so you're a little bit safer there. But yeah, again, if they're right up on this, keep that in mind that is just barely 100 meters. You also can see the front of the gas station. It's a little bit harder of a shot, but it is there. Another place you can go, you can see the warehouse. Again, this is another one where a lot of the time it's going to be within 100 meters, so you got to keep that in mind when you're shooting over here. If you're up to the edge of this warehouse, looking at the other warehouse, this one, it's going to be like 80 meters. So unless they're really tucked in the back there, you're going to have a hard time getting a 100-meter shot from there. But you do get the train tracks at your disposal here. You can see out there, that is definitely 100 meters. Sometimes you get people that lay under the train that are shooting out up at the warehouse. So that is definitely something that to look out for. Definitely a potential kills there. And even more, I guess, tough, you're going to be really threading the needle. But you do get the side picture of the 3-story dorms here. So sometimes you get people that get on, let's run it back here a little bit. Sometimes you get people that are getting into fights and they're on the stairwell. If they are, you have potential to get your 100-meter shot here. That is absolutely 100 meters. That's really far out, so you're going to have to make sure you lead your shot well and that you compensate for that in the scope. But the potential is there. Like I said, it's a little bit more chancy. You have to really get a squad that doesn't just run right in and they're just kind of playing around on the stairwell here. You have that opportunity. You can watch the trees off to the left here as well. Sometimes people get caught up in there. So a couple spots to look for. I haven't had any success myself here, but I have seen people running through here. So it definitely is there. Like I said, it's just maybe not the main spot I'd watch. You can also see off the back of the warehouse. So again, this warehouse is really open, but there is a lot of potential shots that you can take from here. So not a bad spot to run to. All right, so this next spot here is going to be up in this warehouse that I'm scoping out for you now. There's 2 spots. You can see them here. They have a nice view of the main warehouse. So if you hear, if there's a lot of fighting going on at that warehouse, you can go into this one and get a nice sight picture of the side of the warehouse, or the broad side of it, I guess. So just all you got to do for this one, you got to go in, you can either go in the front. I go in the back of the warehouse here. And the back is going to lead you right to the area you need to be. You're going to go in, and you have to get across to the stairwell in the back corner here. So all you're going to do, you're going to go in this little side area, run up the stairwell, and then once you're at the top here, you get those 2 spots we were just looking at. See this one here, you get a pretty nice view of the broad side of the warehouse. You can also see the train tracks to the left. Another spot is over here. This is the second piece that we looked at, is in the far left corner. Again, you get a nice view of the warehouse, train tracks off to the left. Something to keep in mind when you're in this spot is that you can't lay down, so you're going to be relying upon your aim stamina a lot more. So just make sure if you're in this spot, I recommend staying unscoped until you see somebody and then scoping in. But again, not a bad spot. There's some potential there if you hear some gunfights going on. So that's going to be the theme with a lot of the customs spots, is going to be, you're really going to have to feel out the raid and where people are, okay? Because there's really those 2 main areas. You have the warehouse and you have the gas station dorms area. So depending on what side people are on, that's going to kind of dictate where you're going to go and where you're going to rotate for the sniper spots. All right, so I don't run this next spot a lot, but there is a spawn that's right next to it. So if you happen to spawn here, it's not a bad spot to just sit up in for a minute while people get to their positions. And it's right up at the top of the staircase here by these the gas tanks here. I recommend getting in between the 2 tanks so people can't see you from the sides. So getting tucked back enough to where your sides are now you're on as exposed. But from this point, you're going to be able to see up into the rock side, the mountain side here. A lot of people like to sit up there early raid to look to see if Rashal is there at the gas station anyway. So again, you get that whole view. You get part of the gas station. If you slide over, you can see the back of it. So again, if people are fighting with Rashal, you can catch them against this blue fence. So not a bad spot here. Again, like I said, not my favorite spot, but definitely worth noting if you spawn in this spot here. And then my last, I guess, main rotational spot is going to be this warehouse here. So it's right to the right of the spot we were just at by the tanks. You're going to go in, and particularly up to the left, so this left staircase when you come right in. And there's a few windows that you can get some cheeky peeks on. So this one, if you jump up onto the table, you're going to have to break the glass to get your sniper to hang out of it. But you get a nice view of the gas station, and then off to the left, you can kind of see this narrow warehouse area. So again, not a bad spot, just a rotational spot if you need an angle there. You can also see on the back here, that's not going to be a 100-meter shot, but it's if you get people running up on you, it's definitely worth watching. So let's go ahead and go to these next spots. Are really mainly dependent upon if you spawn here. So we'll rotate over to these real quick. All right, so where I had a lot of success is is right at spawn. Okay, so on all these maps, right when you spawn in, be on the lookout. There's a lot of opportunities, especially on customs, for you to get a quick headshot right off rip as soon as you load in, because people are going to be moving to the positions they're trying to get to, and you're already at a 100-meter distance a lot of times. So in this case, there's a few spawns at the top here of the mountain or the hill by the radio tower. So as you can see, the big radio tower, or the power lines here. If you lay down, you can see across, okay? And across, there's a Jaeger stash right where I'm scoped right here. A lot of people spawn and go right, like they spawn on that side and go right for the Jaeger stash. So if you spawn where I'm at, lay down, scope that out right away. Because if you can catch people with that Jaeger stash, that's an easy headshot. They're sitting still for you, and you can see them pretty clearly. So again, a nice spot. And same if you spawn on that side by the Jaeger stash. I like to rotate over, lay down, and scope out the hill that I'm on now. Because that again is 100 meters, so you can see people at the top there pretty easily, and that's not a hard shot to land usually. So those are my spots on customs. Again, this is a very active. You're gonna have to move a lot on customs and just kind of feel out the raid and where people are. So keep that in mind. And you know, another map that I like to run a sidearm on just in case, because you're more likely on customs to run into people. So not a bad idea to have a pistol on you. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap up my Shooter Born in Heaven videos for customs. I have the other 3 maps all covered. I'll include links to those videos down below if you're interested in learning about the other 3. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time.